In the past, I've talked about some of the better made and higher quality live action suits across a multitude of DC properties, ranging from TV shows to theatrical movies. Some of those suits were really something special. It makes you wonder why can't most, if not all, live action superhero and villain suits look like this, especially on bigger budgets. Looking at some of those designs got me like, Unfortunately, there have also been some missteps throughout the years. Suit designs that just didn't translate well on screen, whether it be due to the material of the suits looking cheap, the design being poorly constructed on a foundational level, or the suit simply looking ill-fitted, whatever the case may be. So what are some of the worst suits in live-action DC movies and TV shows over the past few decades? And unlike the last entries, there will be a slightly wider gap of time periods covered because there are going to be a couple of oldies mentioned. You guys remember the Gotham TV show that aired on Fox, right? It aired for a handful of years from 2014 to 2019. It was a prequel show centered on Jim Gordon's early days at the GCPD and featured Bruce Wayne as a child following the death of his parents in the first episode. There's also another prequel series set in the same universe called Pennyworth, a show about Alfred in his earlier days working with Thomas Wayne after forming his own security company. The Gotham TV show included the origins of some of Batman's most iconic rogues like the Penguin, Riddler, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, you know, the classics. Bruce Wayne throughout the series would get older as the seasons would go on, slowly planting the seeds of his eventual vigilante crusade. So in layman's terms, it's basically Batman's version of Smallville if he was a recurring main character, but not the protagonist of the show. The final episode features a 10-year time skip, with Bruce returning to Gotham after completing his training arc. The final shot of the entire series reveals the Batsuit for the very first time. It had the balls to showcase the suit in full, unlike what the Smallville finale did with the Superman suit. Literally what the whole show was building towards, and it's terrible. I understand this is supposed to be his first official suit, but Jesus Christ, man. Saying this looks like cosplay would be an insult to cosplayers. To start off with some of the design details, the logo itself isn't my main problem, although the version on the belt does look better, but the way it's placed on the chest looks atrocious. It doesn't fit well with the shape of the chest. The cowl looks goofy as hell. The armor plating looks cheap all throughout. They did not deliver with this one.
It was terrible. Truly terrible.
Mind you, this was the poster for the final 2 episodes of the series. Would have fooled people into thinking the suit was actually going to turn out good once it was shown in full. Instead, it turned out to possibly be the worst live-action Batsuit of all time. But how did things even get this bad to begin with? Well, the design of the suit was supposed to be very different. About 6 months prior to the airing of the series finale, the showrunner stated that the suit was inspired by The Dark Knight Rises and was a bit more metallic looking, and the ears were intended to be shorter. This is backed up by the concept art for this suit featured in the book Batman: The Definitive History of the Dark Knight in comics, film, and beyond. The producers of the show initially asked WB if they could borrow an existing Batsuit from one of the previous movies, but for no valid reason, WB said no. Supposedly, there was a back and forth between Gotham's producers and WB at the last minute. Elements that the studio didn't approve of had to be altered or removed, like the belt accessories, gauntlet blades, the chest symbol, and the cowl resembling any of the previous cowls from TV and film. This constant back and forth hurt the quality of the suit because the crew couldn't remake it from scratch, but they were insistent on trying to make it work in order to have Batman appear in the finale for the fans. Discussions these days surrounding some of the worst superhero costumes in a live-action DC movie would feel incomplete without at least mentioning. The movie has Barry Allen rocking a new suit designed by Batman and Alfred that utilizes micro-compression technology to make it more portable and form-fitting. Its more organic and flexible design allows it to fit inside and spring out of the iconic Flash ring. The suit is meant to harness the energy that emerges whenever the Flash is running, recycling that energy for continued use. Even though the suit was made practically, certain shots of the suit being layered with visual effects really didn't help it at all. I think the designed textures, combined with the more rubber-like aesthetic, look weird. The belt should have wrapped fully around his waist rather than stopping at his hips, which would have helped contrast the suit better. Not sure why the gold around the boots isn't fully formed. This is something the CW's The Flash handled a lot better with one of its later suits. The cowl also doesn't fit very well, looking overly clunky and bulky. As for Ben Affleck's Batsuit in the movie, is it as bad as the Gotham TV show?
No, but it's still pretty bad.
I can appreciate them going for a blue and gray look, and I honestly take no issue with the cape or cowl. I especially like how the cape drapes over the shoulders, but everything going on with the arms and chest area is just odd. From the random over-designed metallic plates to the weird holes in strap placement, the whole thing just feels messy. I understand it's supposed to be motorcycle armor, but it still looks bad. There were variants of concept art that used darker colors but still maintained the base design of the costume. At least Younger Barry's Flash suit looking a little goofy has a logistical reason behind it, considering it's just a repurposed bat suit that he amateurishly chopped the ears off of and painted over, and Supergirl's base design in the movie thankfully wasn't too bad. One of the most made fun of live action DC properties, mainly due to the lead actor constantly bringing it up, is the 2011 Green Lanterns movie starring Ryan Reynolds, whose reception ultimately scared WB away from incorporating the character in any meaningful way for a long time.
And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
God damn, that's beautiful.
You're welcome, Canada.
The costume designer wanted to make a suit that had detailed design lines akin to that of a plane or anything that moves fast through space, combining that aspect with the anatomy of the human body. The design team worked on numerous different lantern and ring designs for about a year and a half, resulting in 50 to 70 variations of the Green Lantern costume. All of the Green Lantern suits were completely CGI, meaning the actors had to wear motion capture suits while filming because apparently it was the only way to do it, even down to the mask Hal Jordan wears.
It became more and more obvious that we had to go one way or the other. We wanted something so fresh for the fans, we needed to go all the way with the visual effects.
This costume is a manifestation of your will. It was the only way to do it.
I don't believe this. I don't believe you.
The base design on paper isn't that bad, and it is what you'd expect from a standard Green Lantern suit. My gripes mainly revolve around the muscle lines with energy flowing through them, which visually resemble muscle fibers or blood running through veins. The CGI of the suit itself also didn't translate well on film, making the overall look feel really unflattering. Batman and Robin is without a doubt one of the most notorious DC movies out there, with its very goofy and outlandish approach to the Batman mythos, which is very much reflective in some of the costume choices. The suits for Batman and Robin in this movie aren't completely egregious. Yeah, the nipples are an odd choice. It was something initially inspired by ancient Greek statues that were anatomically correct in Batman Forever. Then in the sequel, Joel Schumacher wanted them circled and sharpened on the costumes. And the color choice of the ice suits stick out like a sore thumb, which, funnily enough, Batman's in particular was just a Val Kilmer suit from the third act of Batman Forever, repurposed. But they're pretty tame compared to the design of someone like Mr. Freeze. Toy companies were involved in the design process for Mr. Freeze, since one of the mandates by the studio was to make the film more toyetic, as Joel Schumacher described it. Freeze's weapon, for example, was designed by toy companies. There were a total of 7 Mr. Freeze suits made, which had 10,000 blue LED lights for each one, consisting of more than 500 parts made out of hand-hammered aircraft aluminum. For me, there's just way too much going on here. The shape of the helmet looks ridiculous, especially the metal around it, a significant downgrade from a standard Mr. Freeze helmet you'd see in the source material. Not really a fan of the chrome painted surface all over, definitely screams make this look like a toy. From the torso upward, I just think there are way too many components and gears that make it look over-designed. Arguably the most infamous flop in DC movie history is the Catwoman movie that came out in 2004. Starring Halle Berry. One of the most glaring issues is how the movie is about Catwoman in name only. The main character isn't Selena Kyle, it's just some random original character named Patience Phillips, who's a graphic designer. It isn't set in Gotham and there's not a single person from the source material in the story, but that ended up being the case due to a corporate mandate from WB that prohibited the writers from mentioning Batman or having the movie set in the Batman universe, as part of an attempt to reinvent the character and do something that hadn't been done before. Patience Phillips works for this company that produces a skin cream meant to reverse aging, but it comes with some nasty side effects. Once they discovered Patience overheard the conversation about said side effects, the guards go after her, leading to a chase sequence that ends with her falling to her death. Then she gets resurrected by a magic cat and gains superpowers. Alright then. Patience uses her artistic sensibilities to put together her own costume after getting her powers, and somehow this is the best she could come up with. The movie flopped hard both critically and financially, being universally panned by critics and audiences, and only grossing $82.4 million worldwide with a $100 million budget. As for the costume, the creatives thought it would be cool to make it feel more rock and roll and bare, as one of the producers described it. They were looking for something a little more urban and contemporary. It was tailor-made to reflect Halle Berry's characterization, which led to the actors having a lot of input in the design. The costume designer wanted a reality-based wardrobe that would showcase the character's metamorphosis into having this sensual awakening of a sexy warrior goddess. His words, not mine. It was a combination of leather and a silicone fabric that was made specifically for the movie. The size and look of the cowl is just laughable. I don't understand how filmmakers fumble the bag with a Catwoman mask. It's relatively simple. The closest we ever got was Michelle Pfeiffer, but to this day, why don't we have a Catwoman in a live action movie that looks exactly like this, goggles and all? It shouldn't be that hard to replicate. She probably has one of the simplest designs out of any Batman related character who wears a costume. You don't need some super high-end material, she wears skin tight leather. Throw on some good looking pair of goggles and you're set. Why is that so difficult? She's a cat burglar, my nigga, it's not rocket science. The claw marks on the leather pants are incredibly lame, it's not a cool stylistic choice. The sleeves don't really match with the rest of the suit. This is one of the most impractical outfits any version of Catwoman could wear, from the peep toe high heels to the bra basically being the only thing covering her upper body. Halle Berry's fine self being in the suit is the only thing preventing it from being a 2 out of 10. This last one is less of an issue with the costume or suit itself and more with the overall design of the villain in the DCEU. That being Jared Leto's Joker from the 2016 Suicide Squad movie.
Jared Leto? You can't just put on some tattoos and some fake teeth and make me think that you're some kind of crazy person.
Then no one is buying it.
David Ayer wanted to create a character with some sort of history and footprint in the real world, and took a lot of inspiration from drug lords on Instagram for Joker's design. His overall look is supposed to be a little more working class. The excessive tattoos were meant to tell a specific story, containing various Easter eggs that visually express the history of this particular version of the character. We all hate the metal teeth, but apparently they're the result of Batman getting his hands on him and knocking his teeth out, which is also why he has the stupid damaged tattoo on his forehead. The tattoos all over might be the biggest sin of them all, especially the ones on his chest and stomach area. I also have no idea why this dude has no eyebrows. The Joker wears a multitude of different outfits and suits throughout the movie. He has a purple suit, but it's a much darker shade of purple, which is embodied via a leather trench coat and no shirt underneath. I think a brighter purple suit seen in some of the concept art would have looked a lot better. Now, a lot of the outfits he wears throughout the movie actually aren't that bad, specifically the wide variety of tuxedos and other attire. In that aspect, he could be the most dripped out Joker. But again, it's the base design that makes everything fall apart. But that concludes the list of a handful of the worst live action DC suits ever put to screen. Some are definitely more egregious than others, and hell, you might have actually liked a couple of the ones listed here. But these are just the ones that irked me the most and are considered to be the most offensive. I hope to God that none of the suits in future live action DC installments, whether it be DCU or Elseworlds, produce costumes that are in contention with being some of the worst designed suits for any superhero or villain. If the DCU Wonder Woman or Batman suits end up looking like straight booty cheeks, I'ma die on the spot. But what is the worst live action DC suit of all time? Is it one that was listed here or something else entirely I forgot to mention? Let these entries hopefully act as a hard lesson for future costume designers on what not to do when adapting these characters on the theatrical or silver screen.